Purify My Life, the complete science of spiritual transformation.
If there's a tree full with tender, ripe fruits, each fruit has to be picked and handled properly, not just dropped down to the ground or it's going to get ruined. In many parts of the world, the fruit is picked from the high branches and then carefully handed down person to person, each person located at different levels on the tree, until the person on the ground gently places that fruit undamaged into the box or the basket. In a similar way, Vedic knowledge, the science of self-realization, must be passed down from the Lord Himself through various qualified caretakers so that it reaches the ear of the genuinely inquisitive soul in its pure, unadulterated form. This lineage of guardians of the pure, absolute science of reawakening our love of God, Krishna, is called the disciplic succession, or the Guru Parampara. The way of receiving real knowledge is by accepting proper authority. With any educational system of this world, there are textbooks, but the contents of that textbook are brought to life and they're brought to understanding by a proper instructor who's well versed in the subject and has practical experience of the science. For example, one cannot study a surgical text and then proclaim oneself to be a surgeon. There's a system of education and proper practicum. One cannot reach real knowledge without being helped by someone who is already established in that knowledge, and that pertains at least equally to the spiritual science of self-realization. Srila Prabhupada states in his introduction to Bhagavad Gita as it is, Vedic knowledge is not a question of research. Our research work is imperfect because we are researching things with imperfect senses. We have to accept perfect knowledge which comes down, as is stated in Bhagavad Gita, by the Parampara disciplic succession. We have to receive knowledge from the proper source in disciplic succession, beginning with the Supreme Spiritual Master, the Lord Himself, and handed down to a succession of spiritual masters. Arjuna, the student who took lessons from Lord Sri Krishna, accepts everything that he says without contradicting him. One is not allowed to accept one portion of the Bhagavad Gita and not another. No. We must accept Bhagavad Gita without interpretation, without deletion, and without our own whimsical participation in the matter. The Gita should be taken as the most perfect presentation of Vedic knowledge. Vedic knowledge is received from transcendental sources, and the first words were spoken by the Lord Himself. The words spoken by the Lord are different from the words spoken by a person of the mundane world who is infected with 4 defects. A mundaner, 1, is sure to commit mistakes. 2, is invariably illusioned. 3, has the tendency to cheat others. And 4, is limited by imperfect senses. With these 4 imperfections, one cannot deliver perfect information of all-pervading knowledge. Vedic knowledge is not imparted by such defective living entities. It was imparted into the heart of Brahma, the first created living being, and Brahma, in his turn, disseminated this knowledge to his sons and disciples as he originally received it from the Lord. Sometimes it will appear that there's a break in the disciplic succession, and the Lord's going to act in His own way to reinstate the proper science. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 2, states, "This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. And Srila Prabhupada explains in his purport to that verse, it is clearly stated that the Gita was especially meant for the saintly kings because they were to execute its purpose in ruling over the citizens. Certainly, Bhagavad Gita was never meant for the demonic persons who would dissipate its value for no one's benefit and would devise all types of interpretations according to personal whims. As soon as the original purpose was scattered by the motives of the unscrupulous commentators, there arose the need to reestablish the disciplic succession. 5,000 years ago, it was detected by the Lord himself that the disciplic succession was broken, and therefore he declared that the purpose of the Gita appeared to be lost. In the same way, at the present moment also, there are so many editions of the Gita, especially in English, but almost all of them are not according to authorized disciplic succession. There are innumerable interpretations rendered by different mundane scholars, but almost all of them do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, although they make a good business on the words of Sri Krishna. This spirit is demonic because demons do not believe in God, but simply enjoy the property of the Supreme. Since there is a great need of an edition of the Gita in English, as it is received by the Parampara disciplic succession system, an attempt is made herewith to fulfill this great want. Bhagavad Gita, accepted as it is a great boon to humanity, but if it is accepted as a treatise of philosophical speculations, it is simply a waste of time. Srila Prabhupada explains in his purport to the 16th verse of the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita as it is, to act in Krishna consciousness, one has to follow the leadership of authorized persons who are in a line of disciplic succession, as explained in the beginning of this chapter. The system of Krishna consciousness was first narrated to the sun god. The sun god explained it to his son Manu. Manu explained it to his son Ikshvaku, and the system is current on this earth from that very remote time. Therefore, one has to follow in the footsteps of previous authorities in the line of disciplic succession. Otherwise, even the most intelligent men will be bewildered regarding the standard actions of Krishna consciousness. For this reason, the Lord decided to instruct Arjuna in Krishna consciousness directly. Because of the direct instruction of the Lord to Arjuna, anyone who follows in the footsteps of Arjuna is certainly not bewildered. Srila Prabhupada's purport of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 7, contains some more interesting points. He says, by nature's own way, the complete system of material activities is a source of perplexity for everyone. In every step, there is perplexity, and therefore it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give one proper guidance for executing the purpose of life. All Vedic literatures advise us to approach a bona fide spiritual master to get free from the perplexities of life, which happen without our desire. They are like a forest fire that somehow blazes without being set by anyone. Similarly, the world situation is such that perplexities of life automatically appear without our wanting such confusion. No one wants fire, and yet it takes place, and we become perplexed. The Vedic wisdom therefore advises that in order to solve the perplexities of life and to understand the science of the solution, one must approach a spiritual master who is in the disciplic succession. A person with a bona fide spiritual master is supposed to know everything. One should not, therefore, remain in material perplexities, but should approach a spiritual master. So it's become a popular misconception today that the evolution of human society means that one can now rise above accepting any authority on the spiritual path, that humans have evolved to where a spiritual master, guru, proper mentor is no longer required, and that's simply an antiquated and unnecessary custom of the past. There's the widely publicized modern notion that the capacity is there to figure it all out by the mind's evolved ability. Nothing is farther from the truth, and the result of this misconception only leads one to speculations, mundane pride, confusion, and the rule of the false ego. Without accepting proper spiritual authority, even the most intelligent person will be bewildered in the quest for spiritual understanding. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 34 is a very famous verse. The Sanskrit is Tad Vidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya Upadekyanti Te Jnanam Jnaninas Tattvadarsanaha. And the translation: just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. Srila Prabhupada in his purport says, the path of spiritual realization is undoubtedly difficult. The Lord therefore advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from the Lord himself. No one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following this principle of disciplic succession. The Lord is the original spiritual master, and a person in the disciplic succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciple. No one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process, as is the fashion of the foolish pretenders. The Bhagavatam says, Dharmam hi shakshad bhagavat pranitam. The path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord. Therefore, mental speculation or dry arguments cannot help one progress in spiritual life. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Inquiries and submission constitute the proper combination for spiritual understanding. Unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. One must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master, and when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. In this verse, both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. One should not only hear submissively from the spiritual master, but one must also get a clear understanding from him in submission and service and inquiries. A bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind toward the disciple. Therefore, when the student is submissive and is always ready to render service, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries becomes perfect. Complete knowledge can be achieved only by the devotee of the Lord directly from the Lord in disciplic succession. Renditions of absolute knowledge outside the purview of the parampara system are simply stumbling blocks on the path of spiritual understanding. Deluded interpreters of spiritual literatures who are not surrendered to the Lord and act only on the whims of their minds and false egos simply cheat themselves and they cheat others and divert them from the real pleasure of bona fide spiritual life. One must follow in the footsteps of the great teachers who are in the disciplic succession in order to achieve success in spiritual life. Srila Prabhupada states in his purport, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 42, one is therefore advised to study Bhagavad Gita or any other scripture under a bona fide spiritual master with service and surrender. A bona fide spiritual master is in the disciplic succession from time eternal, and he does not deviate at all from the instructions of the Supreme Lord as they were imparted millions of years ago to the sun god, from whom the instructions of Bhagavad Gita have come down to the earthly kingdom. One should therefore follow the path of Bhagavad Gita as it is expressed in the Gita itself, and beware of self-interested people after personal aggrandizement who deviate others from the actual path. There's a very lovely song that was written by our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur. And this song is a glorification of the disciplic succession. My dear friend, Raj Gopal Prabhu, would like to sing this for you in the original Bengali, and then he will also share the translation of this lovely Bengali poem.
Krishna hoite chatur mukha, hoy Krishna sevan mukha, Brahma hoite naradera mati, narada hoite vyasa, madhva kohe vyasa dasa, purna pragya padmana bhagati, Hari madhava vamshe akshobhya paramahamse, shishya bodhi angikara kore, akshobhyera shishya jaya, tirtaname parichaya, taradasye jnana sindhu tore, taha hoite daya nidhi, taradasa vidya nidhi, Rajendra hoiro tahate, tahara kinkora jaya, dharma name parichaya, parampara jano balumate, jaya dharma dyasye kyati, shri purushottama jati, tahate brahmanya tirtha suri, vyasa tirtha thara dasa, lakshmi pati vyasa dasa, tahate madhavendra puri, madhavendra puri bara, shishya bara shishvara, nityananda shri advaita vibhu, ishvara puri ke danya, korilen shri chaitanya, jagat guru gaura mahaprabhu, mahaprabhu shri chaitanya, Radha Krishna Swami Rupa Sanatana Rupa Priya Mahajana Jiva Raghunatha Hana Tara Priya Kavi Krishna Dasa Krishna Dasa Priya Bada Seva Pada Jarapada Vishwanatha Asha Vishwanatha Bhakta Sata Baladeva Jagannatha Tara Priya Shri Bhakti Vinoda Bada Shri Gora Kishora Bada Hari Bhajane Te Jaramoda Ihara Paramahamsa Gaurangera Nija Vamsha Tadera Charane Mamagati Dashina Namete Chidandi Dina Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Shri Varshavanavi Bhara Sada Sevya Seva Pada Tahara Daita Dasanama Pracharako Shri Bhaktivedanta Namo Patita Janete Toyadama. The translation of the song Krishna Hoite Chaturmukha, otherwise known as Guru Parampara. In the beginning of creation, the science of devotional service was received by the four-headed Brahma from the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Devarshi Narada's understanding of this divine science was obtained from Brahma. The great sage Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas, who was empowered to compile the Vedic literatures, became a disciple of Devarshi Narada. Shripad Madhvacharya, the founder of the Shuddhadvaita school of Vedanta philosophy, who visited Vyasadeva at Badarik Ashram in the 13th century to learn from him Vedanta philosophy, calls himself a servant of Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas. Purna Pragya Tirtha, Madhva, is the guru and sole refuge of Padmanabha Tirtha. The two other principal disciples of Madhva are Nrhari Tirtha and Madhava Tirtha. Madhava Tirtha accepted the great Paramahamsa Akshobhya Tirtha as a disciple. The principal disciple of Akshobhya Tirtha was known as Jaya Tirtha. Jaya Tirtha's service was for his disciple, Jnana Sindhu. Dayanidhi received the science of devotional service from Jnana Sindhu, and the servant of Dayanidhi was Vidyanidhi, or Vidyadhiraja Tirtha. Rajendra Tirtha became a disciple of Vidyadhiraja Tirtha. Rajendra Tirtha's servant was known as Jayadharma, or Vijayadvaja Tirtha. In this way, you should properly understand this disciplic succession. The great sannyasi, Sri Purushottama Tirtha, received his knowledge in the service of his guru, Vijayadvaja Tirtha, Jayadharma. The principal disciple of Purushottama Tirtha was Subramanya Tirtha. His servant was the great Vyasa Tirtha, Vyasa Rai. Vyasa Tirtha's servant was Lakshmipati Tirtha, whose disciple was Madhavendra Puri Goswami. The chief disciple of Madhavendra Puri was Ishvara Puri, and two of his other disciples were the renowned incarnations of Godhead, Sri Nityananda and Advaita Acharya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the spiritual preceptor of all the worlds, made Ishvara Puri greatly fortunate by accepting him as his spiritual master. Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya is non-different from Sri Sri Radha and Krishna, and is the very life of those Vaishnavas who follow Sri Rupa Goswami. Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and Sanatan Goswami were the givers of great happiness to Vishvambara, Sri Chaitanya. The great souls Jiva Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami became very dear to Rupa Goswami. Jiva Goswami was a disciple of Rupa Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami, a disciple of Advaita Acharya's disciple Yadunandan Acharya, was accepted by Rupa and Sanatan as their third brother. Raghunath Das Goswami's beloved student was Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami. Krishna Das Kaviraj was an intimate friend of Lokanath Goswami. They lived together in Vrindavan and always discussed the topics of Krishna with one another. Lokanath Goswami, a disciple of Gadadhar Pandit, had only one disciple, whose name was Narottam Das. Narottam Das was always engaged in the service of his guru, and he also engaged himself in the service of his guru's intimate friend. Thus he became very dear to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. To serve the feet of Narottam Das Thakur was the only desire of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who was the fourth acharya in disciplic succession from Narottam Das. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was the Shiksha Guru, instructing spiritual master, of Baladev Vidyabhushana, to whom he taught the precepts of Srimad Bhagavatam. Jagannath Das Babaji was a very prominent acharya after Sri Baladev Vidyabhushana, and was the beloved Shiksha Guru of Sri Bhaktivedanta Thakur. Bhaktivedanta Thakur's intimate friend and associate was the eminent Maha Bhagavat Sri Gorakishore Das Babaji, whose sole joy was found in Hari Bhajan. These great saintly Vaishnavas are all Paramahamsas, or devotees of the highest order, and they are all part of Lord Gauranga's own spiritual family. Their holy feet are my refuge. I have no real interest in devotional service, and I am a poor and lowly Tridandi sannyasi named Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. The renowned Sri Varshabhanavi Dayita Das, the initiated name of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, is always engaged in the service of his spiritual master, Srila Gorakishore Das Babaji. His foremost disciple preacher is Sri A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, who has spread the message of Lord Chaitanya throughout the world and is thus a reservoir of mercy and compassion for all fallen souls.